to be hanging out with Big Sarge for a hot minute. Man, oh man, I am excited. I wanted to jump on with this gentleman to my left. He is, in my mind, the definition of, and I'm going to embarrass him a little bit, so I hope he doesn't mind. He is the definition to me of servant leadership. I have seen continuously in our community serious situations where you would see this gentleman. He has tirelessly worked with feeding the homeless, clothing the homeless, sheltering individuals, comforting moms who have lost children, working tirelessly to change legislation in the community. And quite frankly, I am humbled by being next to this man. Ladies and gentlemen, Edge Radio, please welcome Pastor Deckard to our show. Hello, Pastor.
Wow.
How are you, sir?
I don't know what really to say after that, but I think the greatest honor any man or woman could be called is a servant. So I take it with great humbleness when someone refers to me as a servant. And when you add a servant leader, and that's because ultimately, at the end of the day, at the end of this journey, at the end of every game, you want to hear these words, well done.
Yes.
And I want to ultimately hear those words from my Creator, well done, my good and faithful servant. So thank you for seeing that, and I appreciate your great compliments.
Yes, yes. Well, Pastor, I have to say, and I know that you have been very instrumental in this community, but Houston has been touched particularly with the George Floyd death because he is one of our own. And you were there. You were there yesterday. You've had a chance to connect with the family. Can you walk us through what's been going on and how they're doing and
But the most amazing thing for me, my personal journey, is that 30 days ago, per se, I didn't know who Big George was, like most people. But the more I learned about his story that was unfolding, grew up in the CUNY homes. For those not familiar with that, that's in 3rd Ward near Texas Southern University. So a guy who grew up in the hood, the CUNY homes, 3rd Ward, former athlete, not professional, but a former athlete, like most of us who grew up in the hood. We love sports. We gravitated towards sports. It kept us out of trouble. It gave us direction.
yes.
And this guy, his death caused a spark in a movement that already existed. And it amazes me. I don't want to be super spiritual, but that's who I am.
Yes.
It amazes how God can take a situation and transform it to something even greater. So now this guy's life was lived in basically a shallow, just those who immediately knew him. But the world, of course, didn't know him. Now the whole world knows his name, but more importantly, when they call his name, it brings revelation to a horrible story unfolding in America.
Yes.
This police brutality, this racism. So now this unknown guy, and this blew me away. This unknown guy's name now will appear on the same wall in Africa with Nelson Mandela.
Wow.
Only God can do that.
Wow.
Only God can take
That's
someone that we would say from nowhere, and use his death to create a movement that will never make this world ever the same again. 2 things took place over the last few months. The coronavirus
Yes.
and the murder of Big George changed the globe forever.
Yes.
So my takeaway with that is, if God can do it in his life, no one can walk around saying my life has no value, because you never know what your story is going to unfold. So every kid in the hood can be inspired by Big George's life, because everybody who spoke about him talked about how he kept going, no matter what obstacles he kept going, he kept getting up and kept going. He would fall down, get up, and keep going. So that inspires every little kid in the hood. Man, just keep getting up and keep going.
Yes.
And God gonna use your life to do something great.
Yes, man, that is absolutely spot on. And I appreciate that this movement has really been, as you said, global. It highlighted abuses in Paris. It's shown abuses all over Europe and everybody.
Canada, all over the globe.
Yes. So that's, as you said, that's nothing but God, right?
Nothing but God. That a dude from the hood can change the world. And watch this. This is really magical. He was not a famous athlete. He was not a very wealthy man. He was not a very popular man. but his life became a very powerful life.
Yes. Yes.
Even his death became a powerful step. And I promise you, things would never be the same again.
Yes. Yes.
Laws are being changed. Can you imagine that? Big Sword, I know he loves sports too. Because would you ever envision a day where both Tiger Woods and Michael Jordan would speak out about a subject so passionately? I mean, these two guys usually cover their brand, so they don't really step. Right. But this is so compelling. Both Jordan and Tiger stepped out. Yeah. You have the NFL commissioner saying we were wrong.
Yes.
You know, these are major corporations who stood by their brand. Now we're going back and saying we apologize, we were wrong.
Yeah, and I like Goodell. You know, Goodell was apologizing. He was also a part of that. You know, the piece that really got me, and you guys both of you, because Big Sarge, you grew up here in the South as well, man, and so you know, I know you can contribute to this. One of the things that shocked and I appreciated was the monuments. The monuments in places like Alabama, Mississippi are now coming down. These Confederate leaders that essentially were champions of slavery and oppression are symbols that essentially the white aristocracy said, that's in your face. Yeah. Those are our flags. Those are our monuments. We don't care what you say. You don't have those rights. Mm-hmm. And those are all coming down.
NASCAR. They still have Confederate flags at the events. They made a public statement before their last event. Then they took 2 minutes of silence and declared Black Lives Matter. Can you imagine?
Wow. Yep.
Now, Confederate flag in the backdrop, and they're declaring Black Lives Matter. The contradiction is there, but that's what Big George's life has done.
Wow. Wow.
Only God can do that.
Yes, yes. So now let's switch gears a little bit, Pastor, because if there was any man that I would want to ask this question, knowing what you've done and the trenches that you've been in, especially here in Houston, I heard something, I read it last night, you probably already know about it, but to me it was egregious, and I want to get your take on it. They said that last Sunday, the 31st of May, was the bloodiest number of homicides in Chicago history. 18 people were killed. A total of 85 were shot over that weekend, over that rioting, and then subsequently 18 died in just one day, 24 over the weekend. What do you say to black men, or no, not what do you say? How, first of all, explain to us, give us, get in their head and tell me why that's happening.
Before we even go to Chicago, let's stay home for a minute. Because it's easy to go to Chicago, Baltimore, Detroit, Washington, D.C., Compton. But this is a statistic that law enforcement gave me about 3 weeks ago to do some research on. Throughout the coronavirus, crime across the globe was down. Across the globe was down.
Yes.
Except in one major city, H-Town.
Yep.
We were the only city where crime was up during the coronavirus.
Wow.
And so they were asking me, what do you think contributed to this? Is this because everybody is home? See, well, everybody home across the globe, so that's not the excuse. But what is going on right now is there are several wars being fought in the hood. And most African-American men, I'm not going to use the word all, I try to use the word, most are dealing with some kind of unresolved trauma.
Okay.
This is really realistic.
Mm-hmm.
I'll use a Bible story to make it make sense. There was this kid in the Bible named Mephibosheth. He was the grandson of King Saul, the son of David, the king's best friend, Jonathan. At 5 years old, watch this. His father is murdered. His uncles are murdered in war. So traditionally, when your dad dies, then one of your uncles will now raise you. Mm-hmm. So this kid at 5 loses all of his male supervision, his father, his uncles. His grandfather is so overwhelmed with grief, he commits suicide. So at 5, this kid has experienced homicide and suicide. That sounds horrific until you peel back the layers. In every inner city community, by the age of 5, most black boys have experienced homicide or suicide either through a physical act or a slow act. When I say a slow act, which means daddy on drugs or mom on drugs. So they didn't put a gun to their head and blow their brains out, but they're drinking their life away. They're smoking their life away. They're injecting their life. So Most little boys by the age of 5 has experienced some type of trauma with no psychological offset. No counseling, no therapy, no one sitting them down to walk them through this. So they go through life confused. So either they gonna kill me or I'm gonna kill me. The mindset. Yeah. So it becomes easy to get into combat and hurt one another. So when the coronavirus took place, money got lost. Now everybody's home, stuck at home in one spot. We don't have conflict resolution because we never taught conflict resolution. So then we start hurting one another, robbing one another. So it increases because at the foundation, we never took the time to have real conversations. Wow. If in the suburbs, if something happens at the school my little granddaughter go to, the very same day, that's therapists and counselors, I'm getting a phone call. In the hood where I passed that, if Ray comes to school today with a black eye and Ray say he's been beat up by his mother's boyfriend, there's no letters going out, there's no phone calls, there's no counseling. They may call CPS on the man, but there's no therapy for the kids who sit in the classroom with a classmate who has a black eye because he's been physically abused. Wow. But in the suburbs, every kid in that classroom would now instantly been in therapy.
Yes.
Having a conversation. So we need to peel back the layers and understand we need therapeutic and spiritual guidance in our communities. It's okay to say, I don't understand. Let's get some help.
Yes, yes. So it comes down to the schooling and the amount of money that's being brought in there. And then there's the other part of it, which I know you're actively involved in, which is teaching parents how to be parents.
Because when you say schooling, kind of like, don't blame the church nor the school. It starts at the home.
Right.
What President Barack Obama said a lot of great things, but one of the greatest things to me that he said was when he made this statement, yes, there's a black man in the White House, but it better be a black man in your house, which means that we have to take ownership of our own house. Yes. So before I blame the church or the school, I want to make sure that every man of color regains his status and position in his home. Even if you and your baby mama didn't work out, if you have kids, you still have a responsibility to make sure you raise your sons and daughters to reach their full potential. Stop punking. Oh, I'm sorry.
No. This is called Edge Radio, and we speak the truth here.
Stop punking out and running out on your responsibility. Yes. If you laid down with that female for however many seconds or minutes it was, she was good enough then. So if it don't work out, don't let your children suffer because some adults didn't work out. We have a responsibility to go back and invest in our children. Because if we don't invest in our children, then the next generation gets worse and worse. Yeah. And you talked about funding, again, the census is very important. And in our communities, right now we're doing a campaign with the census because in our community in Greenspoint, it's one of the lowest producing communities in filling out the census. But what people don't understand is when you don't fill a census, you're holding resources back for your community.
Right.
So the census allows resources to come in your community to get therapists, to get better libraries, more technology, safer communities. So we got to stop saying, and I'm trying to control myself. We got to stop saying that's that's white folk stuff.
Yeah.
The census is not white folk stuff.
Yeah.
The census is for smart communities, caring communities to encourage one another to fill it out so resources come back in the community.
Yes.
I'm sick and tired of us whining and complaining when we're not voting, we're not filling out the census. We're only sitting around tweeting and texting and Facebooking. That's not going to really cause a great change. We got to vote. We got to fill out the census. We got to get involved in the school. At any sporting event, parents show up. When it's dealing with PTO and enrichment, parents don't show up. Parents of color don't show up. We gotta stop that. Yes. We gotta get totally involved and engaged in our children's lives and in our communities.
Yes. Wow. No, you're spot on, and I appreciate your even your frustration behind this whole thing, because I really do see, and I've seen it. I was a single parent. I raised my children, and I see how people abdicate their responsibility. They feel like it's the teacher's job. They feel like it's the mother's job.
My job, and yes, I'm gonna do it. I can in the gap, but it's not the church response. Every day, we feed 200 kids.
Wow.
Every single day, and we love it. But what trips me out sometimes is that you will have an adult bringing their kids to get free lunch, and they may have an attitude. Oh, that's what I got today? Like, what, my man? You came to me. I didn't come to you.
Yeah.
But people get to a point where they're so dependent
Right.
on other sources
Right.
instead of getting up and making a way.
Right.
So we got to stop being dependent on other people. And our slogan, I forgot who said it, but we all we got and we all we need.
Yeah.
And if we really start operating with that mindset, we become so powerful. If the three of us made our mind up to accomplish one goal and put all our efforts and resources and commitment to fulfilling that goal, there's nothing that can stop us.
You're right. You're right.
But the problem is, well, Big Sarge gonna get $1 more than me, so let me slow it down. Let me slow him down, or let me put some in your ear against Big. We cannot make it with that mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you change that? Because that's one of the frustrations I have, because I've seen it. I've been a victim of it, and I just keep moving. But how do you change that mentality?
I'm not as young as I look, thank God. But you get to a certain age and you start thinking about legacy. So one of the things I'm really trying to do now is bring people together. And in my community, Greenspoint, over the last 7 days, they had 3 different walks. Last Saturday, they had a prayer walk through Greenspoint, a group of people. And then on Sunday, they had another prayer walk protest through Greenspoint. Then on Monday, they had a prayer gathering in Greenspoint. And I was including all 3 of them, but nobody else was really including all 3. I asked the 3 people put together, what do you think the magnitude would have been if the 3 of you would have came together and did one event?
Yes.
The impact it would have left on this community, instead of 3 small events. If the 3 of you came together, not worry about who get the credit or who get the glory, just give it all for God and the community, and one impactful time together, we could have got a lot more accomplished.
Yes.
And so I'm trying to bring people together instead of ripping people apart. I'm trying to build bridges instead of building walls. So we have to start the conversation, and someone has to be in the middle saying, let's don't worry about this time whose name on top. Or who gets the credit, who gets the glory. Let's worry about now, will it leave an impact on our community? Cannot be erased. Exactly. Can we make it? This man, Big George, it was obvious he wasn't looking for any glory. I mean, I don't know many people that would be willing to die to improve the quality of life for others, but that's what ended up happening. And he ended up getting, now his name is all over the world, but he wasn't looking for glory. So just do the work. Yeah. And then let God get a credit.
Yes, absolutely. Wow. Now you're spot on, folks. You're listening to the Edge Radio Network. This is 1540 AM, 101.7 FM, Houston, Galveston, Pasadena, and just getting that station ID in there because we're right at the top of the hour. But I've got to ask you just a couple more things, Pastor, because I know you're a busy man. You have done some amazing work over the COVID-19. I have been by your church and I've seen mobilized volunteers handing out food, getting testing done. Talk to us about the resources in that community and what are some of the things you're doing and how we can help contribute to that.
Matter of fact, today, as soon as I leave here, there's going to be a truck at the church waiting to be unloaded. And in the month of May, God just blew my mind. We gave 5,000 free lunches and breakfasts away to the community. 5,000.
Wow.
It blew my mind because I'm a Bible guy, and I remember when Jesus fed 5,000, so it kind of like this stuck in my. And then we gave 5,200 boxes of groceries away to the community in the month of May.
Wow.
We partnered with another organization, and I'm not calling names, so it's just still off the record. It's supposed to be off the record. We now take groceries to families in our community whose loved ones are incarcerated. So say if you're incarcerated, Harris County Sheriff Department has given me the information on where your family lives. We show up and ring your doorbell with a box of groceries in your honor. Wow. So you can't be there for your family. So the church shows up, ring the doorbell, and say, this for your dude that's locked up. Man. Here you go, and walk away.
That's awesome.
So we did that in the month of May. Wow. And we had an opportunity to partner with Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee and offer free testing, COVID-19 testing at the church. And we're going to do it again the last Thursday of this month. So basically, every Thursday, we supply groceries to from 700 to 1,000 families every Thursday. Wow. We unload the trucks on Wednesday, prepare everything. Then on Thursday, we give it away. 2 Thursdays ago, we had so much. We had to do it Wednesday and Thursday. We provided 1,400 families with groceries over a 2-day period.
Wow.
And we're going to do the COVID-19 testing again because churches now are starting to reopen. And I want to operate, not just walk by faith, but by supernatural wisdom also. Yes. So I asked all my members to come get tested before we come back into the church. Come and get. You can't force anybody to get tested, but you want to at least provide the opportunity for free testing. So those are things that we're doing currently right now. Providing food, groceries, testing. We partner with the census, trying to get our community engaged in the census.
Yes.
So well, that's not spiritual. Well, at the end of the day, it is.
Yes.
Our people perish for lack of knowledge.
Yes.
My people perish where there's no vision. My people perish. So that word parish means to be cut off. Mm-hmm. And the hood has been cut off from resources for so long because we're not doing our part. Faith without works is dead.
That's right.
Let's stop shouting and let's start working.
Yes. Well, man, you are and have been for many, many years a champion and an activist. And, I appreciate all the efforts. There's been analogies used, a cruise ship versus a battleship, and you are a battleship. You are in the deep. And so we appreciate, Pastor Deckard, everything you do. The address is 200
West Greens Road. Yeah, Greenhouse International Church. And again, I thank God for those compliments. But at the end of the day, I'm just a guy trying to pay God back. I appreciate this thing called grace. And when it's clear that God has his hand on your life and has graced you, you have to give back. In my opinion, you have to give back. It's like I would be an idiot not to give back as good as God has been to me. Yes. And has graced my life. So it's my way of, I can't repay him back, but I'm gonna do everything I can every day that I wake up to do something for his people, to show God I appreciate him and his grace and his mercy.
Yes. Well, amen, and God bless you, sir. This has been amazing. So, folks, reach out to the greenhouse. There is so much going on, and 200 West Greens Road.
Can I drop one more thing in?
Yes, sir.
This is how sincere we are about this census thing. If you fill out the 2020 census, take a Photoshop of your completion of your confirmation, inbox the church on Facebook. Once we get 2,000 people that have confirmed they filled the census, we're going to put all their names in a pot. I'm going to pull someone's name and pay their rent and mortgage for 1 month.
Wow.
I'm going to pull somebody else's name and pay their light bill for 1 month. And I'm going to pull a third person and give them a $200 gift card. Because I want to make sure that the community understands the value of the census, because it brings resources back into our communities that's needed. Because little Pookie and them, they need. So what happened during COVID? These kids have had nowhere to go.
Right.
No gyms, no centers, no rec centers, nowhere to go, but in trouble. So we got to build some things to build our community back up, and it takes resources.
Yes. No, that's excellent. And so 2,000 people get put in a pot. They're going to get their rent, their mortgage paid.
Rent and mortgage, light bill, and a $200 gift card.
That's awesome.
Just by filling out the census and sending me a copy of it.
Wow. You heard that, folks? So you've been listening to Pastor Deckard. I want you guys getting involved, getting engaged. If you are up in the Greens Point area, you want to come by, see this amazing church. Also, it's huge, and there's so much that goes on there from a community standpoint that I want to encourage you all to get involved. And if you are healthy and able-bodied, volunteer.
Yes,
right,
we always use help because that's never a moment where we're not doing something to do something. So we can always use help. We have a church app, Greenhouse International Church. You can go to the church app, download it, and you can see weekly and daily what activities are going on, Facebook page, Instagram, all of that stuff, and you can follow us. And we always need someone to help us help someone.
Yes. And there's nothing more fulfilling. Anytime you volunteer, it fills your spirit, and the more you try to hold on to the truth, you got to give it away. And when you give it away, it fills you up. Yes. So, Pastor Deckard, want to thank you for coming in to the Edge Morning Show. We really appreciate your input.
I love this setup. This is nice.
Oh, we want you back. We want you back and people like you, because we really want to let folks know what's happening in this community and how we can continue to contribute. So thank you, and bless you for what you do.
Good to see you again, Big Sarge.
All right, thanks, Pastor.
All right, so we are going to take a break. When we come back, Big Sarge is back at the helm. We're going to be talking about a couple of his experiences because you were, in fact, at the funeral yesterday, right, Sarge?
Memorial on Monday and the funeral on yesterday. Yes.
Man, listeners have to hear about that. All right, folks, we'll take a break. We'll be back in just a moment here on 1540 AM, 101.7 FM, Houston, Pasadena. Taking a break. Be back in a moment.
And today I'd like to inform you that doctors of chiropractic are primary contact healthcare providers who provide essential care, including but not limited to managing acute and urgent musculoskeletal condition. These services are critical for managing cases that otherwise could end up in the emergency rooms, worsening an already difficult situation. It is important to note that chiropractic services also keep in place health care providers, first responders, and others